think I've got it. David Smythe is temporary president for S.P.E.C.S, which is the Society for the Preservation of English and Correct Speech. David Smythe, are you in favour of hanging people who don't use the apostrophe correctly?
Certainly I wouldn't be in favour of hanging. Perhaps a short jail sentence, perhaps, but not hanging. But on a more serious note, I mean, I'm very disappointed in Dr. Keith Green. He's representative of really modern linguistics, which is a discipline, an academic discipline, which is unfortunately rife with this new kind of postmodernism that says it's all right to, you know, it doesn't matter what happens to our language. And unfortunately, disgustingly, as we've seen with Birmingham City Council recently, the English language is being degraded all the time and being eroded. I mean, I just wonder who's employing the good Dr. Keith Green. Is it some foreign empire bent on destroying British civilization? Because
I'm going to ask you some more questions, David. I think, in fairness to say, I didn't get that Dr. Green was actually putting it in quite that way. But
well, I think if you read between the lines, and if you know a little about modern linguistics and how laissez-faire the attitude of linguists is toward language, and the attitude, unfortunately, of a lot of the British people. You know?
Explain to us how apostrophes work, David, would you?
Apostrophes, as Dr. Keith Green quite rightly said, are there for possessives. So, for example, in the example that Dr. Keith Green gave, the Queen's English, it is the English that belongs to the Queen. So we would expect an apostrophe there between the N and the S. That's how an apostrophe works. Unfortunately, what these city councils have done, no doubt influenced by the far left, as so many councils are these days.
But Tory council in Birmingham, I think, isn't it?
Well, Tory means very little these days, and I'm sure many of your listeners would agree. What they've done is say, well, in this instance, it doesn't really matter. And unfortunately, if they're going to say, in this instance, it doesn't matter, where's it going to lead? Are we going to be speaking Arabic a few months down the line?
So you really do take it seriously, don't you? It's a sort of mark of our very democracy in some way. It's a mark of our freedoms that we use the apostrophe.
Absolutely. Language is essential to our communication. If we cannot communicate properly, we break down as a society.
But why would we're communicating properly? I'm interrupting, I know, but we're communicating fairly properly, you and I.
Yes.
But we're not saying apostrophes all the time to prove who's got what, are we? We can understand each other without using the word apostrophe while we talk about using words. We can understand people who live in Birmingham without them necessarily speaking like you do or like I do. I don't understand what the connection might be between all that and the collapse of civilization as we know it, actually.
Well, frankly, I mean, you say that, you know, we can understand everyone in Birmingham, but, you know, in fact, I mean, you know, I go to lots of different places, many different places around the country, and unfortunately, in some places, it's all very well to have these different dialects and things. It's nice, but some people cannot communicate. I've been up north where people cannot use a proper English, and
what is proper English then, David?
We're speaking about the Queen's English,
as spoken by the Queen, or as taught in grammar books 20 years ago, or on the B.B.C, or
as I hope I am speaking now.
Well, you're using words that my teacher would have got me for. You said things were nice. My teacher never allowed me to use the word nice. She said it was extremely bad English.
Well,
you use laissez-faire, and George Orwell says don't use foreign phrases to show off.
Well, I must admit, I mean, we do have a problem at the moment with foreign phrases coming into the language. And
but you were the one who used it, weren't you?
I was.
You mispronounce it by my view as well.
And you've made a very good point there. And I will look at that because I'm very concerned about my own language use. And it just goes to show how we can all fall into sloppy habits. I mean, just to give you an example of your researcher, was it Miss... I've forgotten her name.
Well, that's not very good manners, is it?
I'm very sorry. She was asking, you know, what is the wider work of S.P.E.C.S? And one thing we're very much with the Plain English campaign at the moment is the atrocious issue of the checkout signs at Tesco which is a major supermarket, and 10 items or less, which is atrocious English. It ought to be 10 items or fewer. And